Welcome to the Root Cause Revolution podcast with functional and integrative nurse nutritionist and energy medicine practitioner, Audrey Christie.
Hey friends, and welcome to episode 214 of the Root Cause Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Audrey. So today we're talking about how to choose CBD oil. And I get asked tons and tons of CBD questions, and truthfully, I love to answer them. CBD can be so beneficial for so many people. So, like I said, I really love answering those questions. And most importantly, I want you to know the truth because there are so many people being duped right now by CBD. It's one of those things that once it has sort of taken off, people are really excited about it. They're wanting to buy it. And when consumers demand more, supply rises to meet demand. When we're talking about a natural product like this, there's not always the supply to meet the demand. So what do? We start using pesticides to grow more. We start using fertilizers to grow bigger, and we start using synthetic products. And that's typically what happens when these pharmaceutical companies get involved. They think, "Oh, this molecule in CBD is working. Let's see how we can create it in a lab and patent it." If you've been around long, you've heard me tell the stories that that's how things like Tylenol and different things are invented. A lot of those painkillers are modeled after plant molecules, specifically wintergreen, and then developed into a lab, and synthetic versions are created with a patent. When that happens, the natural balance of nature is removed from that. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and source all of your medication from plants in the forest. It would be wonderful if you had the knowledge to do that, or if I even had the knowledge to exclusively go source my own plant medicine. But what I am encouraging you to do is when you are sourcing natural plant medicine, things you didn't grow, things you didn't forage, to be a well-educated consumer, if you will. So we're going to talk about that today. So I want you to know the truth about what's going on in the CBD industry because so many people are being duped right now, buying CBD on Amazon, at the grocery store, at their pharmacies, from MLM companies. And I mean, there's no other word for it other than being just plain duped. And that's not something that I will stand for. So this will be a little bit of a rant, which isn't our usual like Wellness Wednesday vibe. So how this usually starts is someone being like, "Hey, Audrey, I tried CBD and it didn't do anything for me." And so generally that's followed with, me asking some of the standard questions. When did you try it? What brand did you try? How many milligrams did you try? 9 times out of 10, I'll even say 9.9 times out of 10, it is an Amazon. I got it on Amazon. It was a great price, like $35. I got it at Kroger. It was locked, but they came and unlocked it for me. It was like $40. I got it from an MLM. It was like $65, which is way too much for for an oil of that quality. So you think you got this great deal, but you were duped. And the dupe is generally in a few different places. The most common one is in the grams listed on the bottle. So often what happens is the bottle lists, or the marketing on the outside of the bottle lists, the milligrams of hemp oil instead of the milligrams of hemp oil extract or hemp flower extract or CBD oil. They are not the same, okay? Not the same. So if you use CBD oil and you didn't feel a thing, nothing happened, there were likely a few things going on. Or a few possibilities, I should say. It could be all three, but usually a few possibilities. Number one, you didn't get a high enough dosage. Okay, CBD is dose dependent like anything else. And that dose is different for different people like anything else, right? So when you see, a headline or an ad or an article or even in a listing on Amazon that, quote, studies show CBD helps you with X, Y, and Z, those studies are generally using 600 milligrams to 1,000 milligram a day doses, okay? 600 milligrams or better. The average dose in a store-bought bottle is 5 milligrams. You'll wonder why it's not working, right? 5 milligrams is a heck of a lot different than 600 milligrams. Now, I will say straight away, I am not advocating that you start with 600 milligrams of CBD. I generally recommend people to start around 25 milligrams and see where they need to increase from there. So rather than call out specific brands with all of these problems, I want to teach you what to look for, how to read the label, so that you can make sure that if you were spending money, on something that will actually help, right? So what I want you to do is when you find a bottle of CBD and you're considering buying it, look at the back of the bottle. Look at the ingredients. You may see things like hemp oil or MCT oil or olive oil, even hemp flower extract. You could see yucky things like soy oil or safflower or sunflower oil, inflammatory things. You may see cannabidiol. There's lots of different things you might see on that label. On the front of the label, it might say, 750 milligrams of active hemp oil. Now, that is not 750 milligrams of CBD oil. That is 750 milligrams of carrier oil, like of inert filler oil. But most people, because it's hemp oil, don't know the difference. They think, oh, hemp, CBD, same thing, right? No, both come from the hemp plant, but not the same thing. You might be seeing that 750 milligrams and think like, whoa, that's a lot of CBD. That's a great price. Nope. Big difference. Huge difference. What you are looking for is cannabidiol, or sometimes it's listed as CBD, or sometimes it might say hemp flower extract. Now, if you find that on that same label of your $35 bottle of CBD, or even your $60+ one if it came from an MLM, you're looking at 5, maybe 10 milligrams of actual CBD. Now, if you do the math there, that's not such a great deal, right? Like, you now have to use how much of that at a time to get to 25 milligrams? If you're using it daily, you're using more than a bottle of that in a week, okay? Now, there are over 1,000 clinical published studies on the benefit of CBD. It's not hemp oil that's doing that for you. It's not hemp oil that's doing the anxiety. That's relieving the anxiety, helping with cancer, autoimmune disease, depression, pain, so many different things, ADHD, focus, all of that stuff. So what I want you to do is, if you have CBD at home, look at the bottle, see how much is in there. And I bet, like I said, in order to get that recommended dose, you'd have to take a bottle or more of that stuff a week, right? So now if you're thinking like, okay, let's just take the average there between 30 and 40 at $35 times 5, you're needing to spend $180 or more, right? That's not a good, in a month, that's not a good deal, okay? So that's thing number one. Problem number 2, people will say, well, Audrey, I tried CBD and I had this awful reaction. It was awful, right? I was so anxious, or I had a panic attack, or I had a headache, or, X, Y, and Z happened. Usually that is because a lot of these products that are in the grocery store that are made by pharmaceutical companies, they are synthetic. They are synthetic. And when they're synthetic, they come with side effects, or like I like to call them, unintended consequences. Another problem is with this whole supply and demand thing is that they become pesticide laden. It's a common misconception that hemp plants, CBD plants, can be grown easily without chemical assistance, and that's not true. Both synthetics are everywhere, and so are pesticide-laden plants. I live in Texas, and it is legal with a whole lot of hoops for production farms to grow hemp. And you can just go look at the approved list of chemical fertilizer and chemical pesticides that you can use on that list. Synthetics, pesticides, these things are everywhere. Every single time, and I mean 100% of the time that I have spoken to someone that has had a negative reaction to CBD oil, it's because they were using a synthetic CBD oil without knowing it until after the fact when we talked about it. Okay, so that is also critical to use. So you want to make sure that the CBD oil that you're using is grown and bottled in the USA. And that it is organically grown. Now, notice I said organically grown and not USDA organic. You can buy USDA organic, but I generally recommend taking that a step further and actually knowing the farm and knowing that it's organically grown. You also want to look for 20 milligrams or more per serving. Problem number 3 I see is that it didn't work because it is a non-specific CBD, meaning it is a general CBD and not designed to help or assist with a specific problem. And I use the term designed loosely. Just like there are different herbs for different healing modalities and herbalism, for different symptoms in herbalism, there are different strains of the hemp plant that have different purposes to help with different symptoms and issues. So there are plants that are invigorating and that are great for daytime use, that are energizing and mood boosting, that are good for focus and getting stuff done. There are some that help to dissolve anxiety while keeping you like super focused and super awake. There are some that bring a calming but stimulating sensation. And there are others that are more for nighttime, that are good for pain or evening use. There are some that are good for PTSD, severe anxiety, for aiding in sleep, for inflammation, for calming sensations, for the epitome of chill. And then there are hybrids, right? Hybrid strains are often ones that offer more focus and mental clarity and pain relief without making you ready for bed, or that they are amazing for anxiety, creativity, energy, or that offer an overall calm and peace without making you drowsy. And that's just scratching the surface. I could go on and on and on. There are over 15 single strains available, and they all have different purposes. So don't think that your CBD didn't work. You just don't have it down just right, okay? So what I'll do on the show notes page at audreychristie.com/214, I will link my favorite brand of CBD. It is a farm in the Carolinas, Appalachian Standard. You can peruse the strains they have available, but what I recommend if you're looking for something specific is what I'm trying to say, is to reach out to me and just ask, and I will let you know what some of the best strains are for those issues. Okay? So audreychristie.com/214 for the show notes, including that link to Appalachian Standard. And if you do reach out to me via Instagram, Facebook, hit me up in the Wellness Circle, which is our free private Facebook group where we'll be talking about this more in depth, or send me an email at acm@audreychristie.com. Trust me, you can find me. It's all linked in the show notes. And I will also check and see if they have any coupons for you. Every once in a while, I can get you guys like a 10 or 20% like discount or coupon off. So if you're new to CBD oil and you're like, what in the heck is Audrey talking about? CBD oil is a lot like an essential oil, right? It's derived from a plant. It's natural. It's been used for a ton of years. I almost said a million years, but it's been used for ever for healing and in wellness. It is a cannabinoid, and it is usually sourced from industrial hemp plants, not marijuana. CBD is often confused with THC. THC is from marijuana. Both are cannabinoids, but CBD is legal in all 50 states and is not psychoactive. So that means is that CBD does not trigger a high feeling. It doesn't trigger anxiety or euphoria. It can trigger a sense of relaxation, but most often people don't associate a physical reaction at all, okay? You just know that you're better. And historically, or I should say generationally, our cannabinoid systems are actually deprived because for so long it's been illegal. Now, this is also a good time to point out that most people don't take CBD oil every single day forever. Your cannabinoid systems do get full, and depending on how stressed you are or not stressed you are, you might notice that you receive less effect from your CBD oil. So that just means you can taper down and then keep it on hand for whenever you might need it again. Generally, our lifestyle stresses are the things that burn through those cannabinoid systems. So, as mentioned, my recommended sort of starting dose, if you were, I'm not obviously giving you medical advice over a podcast, but if you were just to ask me, hey, what should I start with? Or if my brother or parents or somebody asked me, I would generally start somebody somewhere around 20 to 25 milligrams, depending on what they were going through. If you had an acute injury or acute pain, CBD oil is much more effective and has much fewer side effects than taking any kind of over-the-counter or prescription pain pill at all. So that is my how to choose a CBD oil, how to read the label on CBD oil. Hopefully you find this helpful and informative. And again, if you have any questions, I I legitimately love answering questions. So please do reach out and I will get that answered for you and point you in the right direction. Remember that I'm always rooting for you, friend. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Root Cause Revolution podcast. Be sure and subscribe on your favorite podcast provider. Ratings and reviews are always appreciated.